Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Elevate. I'm Kat. This is my channel where we talk about healing from toxic relationships and regaining our self-love and self-esteem. Today's topic is going to be doing no contact like a boss. So we're going to talk about what no contact is. We're going to talk about what it's not. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to do it successfully. I've done it myself after a narcissistic relationship. Some of you know my story, and I'm going to do a video soon again about my story. But essentially, I went through a very toxic and narcissistic relationship for almost 4 years, and it was very damaging to me. And I had to do no contact after that point. And it did help. I think it's one of the number one best ways to get over someone who's toxic or to heal from a toxic relationship or narcissistic relationship. So before I get into the topic today, if you haven't subscribed, please do so down below and press the bell icon so you can get notified and you'll know when my videos come out. I'm trying to do more now, maybe twice a week. I was doing once a week, but we'll see how much time I have. I'm also developing a digital course. So if you want to be notified about when that's going to come out, you could either sign up for my mailing list below, or you can just download the free ebook about recovering from a toxic breakup. And if you're going through that experience right now, you might want to do that. It'll help you at least kind of get through the first couple of days and weeks of a toxic breakup. So getting back to the topic, which is no contact, as far as a definition goes, no contact is not having any contact with a toxic person. I would say that that means you don't reach out to them and they don't reach out to you, and you also prevent them from reaching out to you. So that's an added step. Some people may or may not include that in their definition of no contact, but I do. So let's just go back a little bit and talk about what it's not as well. So it's not ghosting and it's not the silent treatment. So ghosting and the silent treatment, aka stonewalling, is an abusive tactic that manipulative and toxic people will use against you when they don't want to resolve anything and they don't want any conflict. So toxic people use conflict avoidance and silence as a way to retain power over you and retain control. So it's like they just don't want to actually resolve anything. And I'll link my video about narcissists don't want a healthy relationship up um, on the top here so that you can actually listen to that video and you'll have a better understanding then about how narcissistic and toxic people in general don't really want a healthy relationship. So, you might want a healthy relationship. You're looking to have love. You're looking to have a partner. You're looking to have a great, healthy, reciprocal relationship. But that's not their goal. That's not their game. They may have pretended that was what they wanted, but as time goes on, you realize now this is not what that person wants. So, no contact, when you've got to go no contact at the end of one of these situations, it's not ghosting. It's not the silent treatment. I think that you should have a conversation with the person and end it officially. Obviously, if there's some sort of physical abuse or something beyond that makes it dangerous to do so, you should not do that. Then you should just disappear. But I still wouldn't consider that to be ghosting because that other person was abusive to you and you're just basically going into self-preservation mode. So let's talk about no contact and the concept. Again, you're not contacting them. They're not contacting you. And it is a form of self-preservation. You have to realize when you get to this place and you've dealt with these toxic people and you've had these situations, maybe you've had several situations in a row, a pattern of having to deal with these types of people who have taken advantage of you. You have to realize that self-preservation is one of the most important pieces to this puzzle. As a codependent, and I'm a recovering codependent, I have to recognize that self-preservation and myself is more important than the relationship, more important than that person's feelings, the other person, the toxic person's feelings, or my partner's feelings. Because what happens when you're codependent and you're one of these people that enables or allows abusive behavior towards you is somehow you always put your own needs aside, and somehow their needs are always more important than yours. And you have to flip the switch on that and sort of realize like, hey, I'm important too. My heart, my needs, my feelings, what I want in life, what I need emotionally, what are my emotional needs? What are my relationship needs? And those are important. They need to be validated. And if you have a healthy partner, they will be validated. They will be um, honored. But when you're not with a healthy person, we know things don't go that way. However, you have to be your own best friend, and you have to actually honor and validate your own feelings. And it becomes literally like self-preservation. Like it does get very basic and intense. It's almost like it's almost like a survival mode. I know once you get out of this, it's like becomes like a survival mode. You feel like you're not going to make it. You might feel like you're going to die without this person. You might feel like you're just so shattered and broken. And I've been there and I know how that feels. And you are confused. You don't know why they did this to you. You maybe probably tried to be so good to them and you have no idea, why are they doing this to me? Why have they left me after all I did for them? And it's not like you were doing it to get anything, um, particularly, but you wanted a reciprocation. Like you wanted to have something where I loved you and you love me. When you deal with someone who's toxic or abusive, we all know that's not the case. So you are going to be going into survival mode because you're at a low point where you've been beaten down by this person's abuse. We've talked about all the abusive tactics that these types of people will use. And, I just like to call these people toxic, or I like to call them manipulators. Some of them are narcissists, some of them are not narcissists. So I kind of generalize, and that's why I use the term toxic people a lot on my channel, because people that um, may not be, let's say, diagnosable narcissists, but they are toxic anyway. So I try to just generalize in that respect. These people have been abusive to you. They've manipulated you and literally probably left you on the floor crying, wondering, why did they do this to me? Like I didn't deserve this. I didn't deserve this. I did everything I could. I tried so hard. And that's the thing too, especially if you're codependent or you really, really love someone, you probably tried so hard. You tried so hard and you got nothing for it. And that's like the worst thing, because you're like, I did so much. I tried so hard and now I have nothing to show for it. Like I have to just walk away. Like it seems so unfair. It seems so totally unfair. And it is, but it's the thing that you need to do to preserve yourself, because as an individual, you are getting damaged. You are losing by staying in contact with this person. Even if you're broken up and you're just trying to stay friends or something, I would not suggest that. I would suggest a clean break. Maybe, years from now, if that person went to therapy and they become less toxic, you could consider being their friend. But I would say, what's the point in staying friends with a toxic person, right? Like if they were toxic in the relationship, they're going to be toxic in the friendship, and you just don't need that. It's not the kind of healthy friend that you would want to have. So there's no point. What's keeping you stuck and keeping you from cutting that cord as the friend is your attachment. You're very attached to them. And it makes sense because you cared about them. You have maybe a healthy ability to bond and attach. That's good. That means you can love. That means you can, as a human being, you can attach in a healthy way. Attach by caring and, bonding in a biological way as well. Like, if you go back in the day to, tribes and people that were in tribes, we had to bond together. We had to work together. You needed people. That's normal. It's normal to need people. And I did another video about that you're not insecure. You should check out that video too. If you're feeling like you're insecure because you felt like you needed this person. We all need people. People make us feel safe. It's normal. Like, and they've done so many psychological studies about this. Um, when kids are young, they need to have uh, safe people around them. It's normal. Babies have, when they've been infants, they've done studies where babies have passed away because they didn't have someone holding them. So we're made to bond, like in a biological way. So there's nothing wrong with feeling like you really need this person. Like, that's normal. You have gotten attached. You have a healthy kind of attachment. But unfortunately, the other person doesn't have that level of attachment towards you. And that is, I guess, the crux of the problem, because they're not able to attach in the same way. A lot of these toxic people just can't bond in a healthy way, and it gets all messed up because you're trying to bond in a healthy way and they're just not capable, and you keep trying and trying and trying and trying. It's not working because you're the only one trying. Ultimately, what you're going to notice if they don't break up with you first or leave first is you'll leave because you realize you were the only one in the relationship. Like, it was you. There was no one else. And a relationship takes two people who want the same thing to work together to obtain the same goal. They have to relate to each other in a healthy way. It's called relationship. And if you're the only one doing all the work or trying your best and the other person doesn't seem to understand or doesn't want to give you healthy relating back, or you don't have the same goals, then you don't have a relationship. It doesn't exist. So you have to kind of grasp that concept that if you're the one that's just doing all this, you're the one that's attached, it's time to take a break. It's time to move on from this person and essentially cut ties completely. Not like, let's be friends and try to see if we could do that. No, because that's not good for you. And you're the most important person here. Your self-preservation is number one. When you're dealing with toxic people, any kind of interaction or connection, any even little text here or a phone call has the capacity to just affect you and then set you back and have you spiraling down into an abyss that you don't want to go to. It's that place where you feel powerless, where you feel manipulated, where you feel unempowered, and you feel like you don't have any agency to take action in your life. You don't want to get to that place. And it's essentially, this toxic person you've been involved with is like a trigger. They can come in, they can text like out of the blue. If you have not blocked them, they will text you out of the blue. That can trigger you into a lot of a step back, let's say, falling back in your progress and really affecting you in a negative way, depending on what they're saying. Even if they're not saying something mean at the time, just hearing from them can cause issues, because this person has caused you to have trauma. You have had a traumatic experience from this person abusing you, this person who's been acting like Jekyll and Hyde and hot and cold and, confusing and gaslighting you. So if you hear from that person, even just a little text, hey, how are you? That can affect you. So no contact is blocking that person. You want to block this person out of your life. You want to make sure this person has no access to you. You want to block them on social media. You want to block them on the phone. And you want to avoid going to the places that they go to. I know that's so hard because we often want to try to see this person by accident because we're attached. We love this person. We want to see them. But you have to think twice about that. It's not a good idea. What you need to do instead is start to plan your own life alone. And it's almost like you have to pretend like they're dead, like they never existed. Because in your mind, you have to sort of pretend like they're gone, like that's it. And to me, that was the only way I could move past my own pain. And I was so used to talking to my ex-boyfriend on a daily basis and getting the phone calls and having the attention, and there's going to be a loss there. So in your daily life, you talk to a person that you're dating. They take up time in your day, and they also give you attention. And so that attention is going to be gone. And also that time is going to be open and empty. And you need to fill that time because now it's a void. So you need to figure out, what am I going to do with this time and how am I going to get the attention that I was missing? You're not going to get the same kind of attention, but you've got to figure out a way to get it in a different way. So let's say you feel like texting your ex, but you text your best friend. You text uh, a friend that you specifically maybe made a pact with, that person's going to be your emergency texter. So I used to text my cousin or one of my friends, and they knew that I was going to text them instead of texting my ex when I felt that I needed to reach out to my ex. Because ultimately reaching out doesn't change anything. And we always kind of think like, maybe if I reach out and I say something else, things will be different. But you tried so hard for so long to make this work and it didn't work. And that's the issue here, because you think that one more text, or if maybe some time has passed and now you're going to try to text them again, it doesn't change anything. These people don't change unless they actually develop self-awareness and they develop healthier habits of relating and loving. They don't know how to love in a healthy way. So that doesn't happen overnight. It's not like, oh, 2 weeks or 2 months. And and if I text him, maybe he's changed. He probably hasn't changed because he's got these patterns and behaviors that he's developed over years. And that's not going to change overnight. You tried everything you could while you were in the relationship. Just think about all the things you did, all the conversations you had with that person, um, you know, all the trying to get them to understand your perspective, have them validate your needs and think that your needs were important to meet, and how it just so failed and it didn't ever change. Maybe they changed for a little bit of time, but then they went back. So I would say, don't fall into the trap of thinking calling or texting your ex is going to fix anything. And you should have someone or multiple people actually ready to receive your texts whenever you feel like you need to reach out or you need to vent, because you need to be able to get that energy out. The other thing is, you can write letters to this person in your journal. I did that also. I think that helps. I would not send the letters because that is not going to probably help. Again, that's just opening the door to more possibility for you to be emotionally abused. So essentially, you have to get real with yourself and say, this person is never going to be who I thought they were. They pretended to be someone else in the beginning or for a period of time. They ultimately started to become abusive to me. That's who they really are. This is their pattern. They're not going to change back into this amazing person. You just didn't know them that well in the beginning. So the only way to save yourself and to preserve your own self-esteem, to regain self-love and self-esteem that you lost, is no contact, which is no contact whatsoever. Zero. That includes not looking at their social media. So I'm actually really proud of myself because I did not look at my ex's social media. I didn't, and I knew that I didn't want to do that because I knew I couldn't handle that. Like, I would have been devastated if I looked and I saw him with someone else. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm just not going to do that because I recognize that I can't handle that. So I knew my own limitation and I was able to discipline myself. And I know people who have fallen into the trap of looking at their ex's social media during no contact, and they have been devastated. They've fallen into the pit of despair and that I mentioned before. And, you know, that hurts them. They basically have hurt themselves. It's like if you're on a diet and, you're like, well, I can have like 2 cookies, but I'm not going to have 10 cookies, and then you have 10 cookies. Well, now you feel bad about it. You know it was wrong. You know that, it's not your long-term goal. It's not part of your long-term goal. And now you've set yourself back. That doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Like, you can obviously get past that, but there's no point in getting to that place if you don't have to. I mean, I've fallen into the mistake of texting my ex, um, exes in the past, like toxic exes in the past after the relationship was over, because I tend to like want everything to get like sewn up and like tied with a bow. So everything is cool. So nobody's like got hard feelings and everything's just cool. Well, that's a mistake, because when you're dealing with toxic people, it's never going to be cool. They won't let it be cool. They don't want it to be good. They don't want like a peaceful kind of parting ways, like mature, let's have a discussion. No, they're not doing that. You might want to do that, but that's not what they're going to do. So you can't have that expectation that they're going to want it to be that way. They just don't. So no contact whatsoever, no social media peeking, please don't do it to yourself. Have people at the ready to take your texts, other friends and family. And then, you might want to join some of these online groups. There are a lot of online groups out there that are supportive for people that have gone through different things. I have a Facebook group for women myself. If you want to join, feel free. You can either reach out to me or locate it on Facebook, Elevate for Self-Love. And, we have a supportive community there where people can talk and they can vent. And if you want to talk about your no contact issues or any other issues that you're having with dealing with toxic people, you can do that. It's a safe place to do that there. It's a private group. So you want to find a private group that's not public, right? Because otherwise people can see what you're writing. You want to find a private Facebook group or another group online that you could just kind of vent if you need to. I mentioned writing letters to your ex. You can do that in your journal. You can journal in general, but you don't want to get too crazy with journaling and getting too much into like a negativity, because that can happen where you're just, I don't know, I find myself like if I journal too much, then I wind up getting into this negativity that just doesn't really seem to benefit. So don't people find journaling really helpful? And I guess it depends on how you journal. So you could try it and see if it works for you. Other things are filling up your time more, aside from friends and family, like obviously talking to them, making plans with them, going out more. But you might not feel like that yet. Like you might just be so tired, exhausted, emotionally spent from this toxic relationship that just took so much out of you because you put so much effort into it. So maybe you don't even feel like going out, and that's okay. Like if you need to stay in, take a bath, take a hot shower, do body scrub, do deep hair conditioning or face mask or whatever. Like do stuff for yourself that you can do, and maybe you just binge watch like a series on TV. Like I don't think that's bad. So as long as you're not watching TV all day, like forever, I don't think it's bad to binge watch. I think that some people, like even myself now, I use my brain so much all day long that at night, I actually need to like binge watch mindless kind of television because my brain needs to shut off. Like my brain needs to kind of like wind down. So it's been like high performance all day long. And it's like there's all this critical thinking and executive functioning of the brain. And it's like just so intense all day. Of course it needs to like chill at night. I need to like shut off. And so when you're going through like the end of a toxic relationship and you're going through no contact, you might need to binge watch to get your mind off things and kind of fill up time, fill up the void. If you don't have the energy to do much, you need to distract yourself, because you cannot let yourself think that contacting this person is going to be the answer to the problem that you have, because it's not. You are the answer to the problem that you have. And ultimately, when you'll get a little bit better. You'll start feeling like, okay, I can go do a walk. Maybe you start doing a walk every day. I did that. I started walking in nature every morning. I would walk. And when I would walk, I would listen to inspirational things. So I would listen to affirmations, or I would listen to an inspirational talk, something about self-development, or anything that was going to benefit my mind and my spirit. And then my body was getting a walk. So I felt like, okay, I'm doing something for myself. And that became a really nice daily practice that I do. I also meditate. I do believe in meditation. However, I know when you have gone through a toxic breakup, it might be very hard to meditate because you find that your mind is all over the place. So you will get to a place where you can meditate, but I'm not saying that you would necessarily be ready for it right away. Same thing with reading books. So reading books is great. You can learn. I do self-development books. There's so many amazing books out there that I've learned from. However, at the end of a toxic relationship, when you're going through no contact directly after and you're grieving and you're in pain, I found personally that I couldn't read books because my mind would wander. So I would be reading the book and then I would just be like spacing out because I could not focus on the book. So that could be something that maybe down the line, once your mind is less distractible towards thinking about the person, then, that might work for you. So right now, like when it first happens and you've got to do no contact, you have the workings of the trauma bond, which I've talked about before. There's a lot in the trauma bond because the trauma bond is not only like emotional, but it's also like physiological. Like there's chemicals in your body that have been released when you have contact with this person. So, you know, um, like positive chemicals. So when you want to contact this person, it's almost like you're looking for a hit. It's like you're a drug addict, unfortunately. And especially due to intermittent reinforcement, that's another piece. So there's like intermittent reinforcement is the behavioral conditioning that you've been through by having the Jekyll and Hyde hot and cold behavior. And you can Google intermittent reinforcement if you want to look up some of the psychological studies. Essentially it's what happened to you, and it's not even just a human thing. It's actually, it happens with animals as well. So it's just a thing that you had no control over. You had no control. A normal human reaction to it's a behavioral conditioning, a type of behavioral conditioning. So that happened to you without you even knowing, right? And then you have all these chemicals going through when you have someone you love contact you. You feel really great. Endorphins. There's all sorts of oxytocin and other things that are going on inside the body. That's making you bond with the person more. That's making you feel more love. You're feeling like this feeling from this person. So of course you're going to be craving that now that you don't have that at all. Now you're looking for substitutions. And like I said, you do need to try to get attention somewhere else because you need to replace that. I'm not saying you go out there and you just randomly start to pick up people to get attention from. I'm saying get it from family and friends that you already have. It'll be a different kind of attention, but it should be able to fill that void. I'm not saying you go out there and start using people. That's not a good idea. You should definitely not get involved with anybody right now in a romantic sense, or you don't get close to anybody. Even on a friendship level, I would not make any new friends right now. I would not date anybody right now and get too close. I would just grieve, and I would just take my time with processing all the grief. It's again, the breaking of the trauma bond, and then you've got time on your hands and that you didn't have before. You don't have the attention of the person. You miss the attention. You're grieving the fact that you tried so hard to make this work and it didn't work because the other person wasn't capable or didn't want to make it work. So you have to grieve, and there's just sadness. Like it's normal if you're crying, if you feel exhausted. Just honor yourself. Like if you feel like you can go out, go out. If you feel like you can't go out, don't force yourself to go out. Just rest. Just rest. Like rest is so underrated. Like people today, they're like, they have to do. If you do, if you're constantly taking action and you're out all the time and you don't stop, you will never grow mentally and emotionally and psychologically because you never stop to think about what's going on. You just constantly doing. So if you notice too, like a lot of workaholic people or people that like are always doing but never stopping and resting, it's a type of avoidance. So there has to be a balance. You want to keep your time filled up, but you also want to keep enough time to rest. What else? So you need to actually realize that this person is not who you thought they were. And in the beginning, of course, you thought they were amazing. They were loving towards you. They were kind. They were an ideal partner. And you thought, wow, or ideal friend could have been. And you thought, wow, this person's going to be great for my life. They're going to be positive influence. I feel like I finally, clicked with someone, and this is really someone I want in my future. But ultimately you found out that's not this person. That's just the act they put on in the beginning. And so we're always kind of going to have this cognitive dissonance, which is another psychological term you can Google if you want. And it's like you're believing two opposing ideas. So cognitive dissonance is like the Jekyll and Hyde. We know he was really good to me, and then we know he treated me poorly. He disrespected me. He cursed me out. He raged at me, whatever it is. So you can't really put those two things together. Your brain is like, it's an oppositional thing. There's two opposing ideas. It's called cognitive dissonance. That's always going to bother you. And our brains are like wired to try to make things make sense. And this doesn't make sense. So it's something that whole like for me was always an issue. And it's not necessarily an issue consciously, but like subconsciously, you're trying to figure out like, who was this person? Like, was this person the good person that they were when they told me that they really cared about me? Or was it the person that didn't call me back when they said they would? Like, who is this person? And you don't know. And so cognitive dissonance is going to always be there, but you have to get to a place of acceptance. So you have to just accept the reality of who this person was. Like, yes, they may have had some good qualities. They could have some good qualities still, where they go back and forth between treating you well and treating you poorly. However, the fact that they treat you poorly at all means they get disqualified. So it's unfortunate, but it's true. Their true colors have come out. We have to accept the reality of who they are. And we can't have contact with people that abuse us. Like, it's just not worth it. Like, there's so many people out there that we can meet that would be better than staying with someone who wants to continuously hurt us or abuse us. So, what's the point in having any contact with this person? This person's not bringing any value to your life. They're actually bringing you down because by the way that they have abused you psychologically and verbally, they have torn you down. They've made you feel small. They've made you feel devalued. They've made you feel unimportant. Like for instance, the example I gave before, like let's say they don't call you back or they don't text you back. They've made you feel unimportant. Like you don't mean anything. You don't matter to them. You're a piece of trash. That's how you'll feel. So why would we keep that person in our life? It doesn't make sense to do so because we can go push that person out, do no contact for a period of time, and indefinitely have no contact with that person. But after a period of time, you will feel much better because you will feel like, okay, I no longer crave talking to that person. I no longer need to have interactions with that person every day. I don't feel like I need that person anymore. You're going to get to that place where over time, it takes months, and sometimes it could take years, where you don't want that person anymore. Then there's like an inner peace that comes over you, which makes you feel okay by yourself. Like you're just like, wow, like I'm okay on my own. I feel peaceful. Like I don't have to worry about he's not texting me back. Why? I don't need to worry about walking on eggshells. I can't talk about that certain topic that he gets upset about because he's going to scream at me. I don't have to worry about, you know, I asked him to do this and he didn't, or he did something else and tried to make it my fault. So you'll get this inner peace where you'll realize like that the removing of the abusive person brings you to like an equilibrium, and then you'll enjoy being in that place. So that's the goal of no contact. It's like to get you weaned off this person biologically, psychologically, behaviorally. And once that person is gone for a period of time, you then start to get this inner peace and you start to feel like, okay, like I can now start thinking about my future. Like, maybe I'm going to meet someone new. Maybe I'm going to try to build up my friendships. Maybe I'm going to work on a career thing, whatever you're going to do with your life. But you need to stay in no contact, because every time you go back, it's like a re-triggering. Every time you have contact with that person, even if it's just to look at their social media, you're re-triggering yourself. You're not going to be like back at the beginning necessarily, but it's going to hurt, and it's always going to be disappointing, because you're always going to, if you did reach out to the person, let's say, like say hypothetically you reach out to the person, because we know we've all done this and plenty of people have told the stories. You reach out to the person and then you get disappointed again because you realize they haven't changed. And then you go, why did I do that? Like that was just a waste. So there really is no point in you trying to reach out to this person. The chances of them having changed from being toxic to not toxic is like slim to none, unless years have gone by and they've really like worked on themselves, then maybe they have changed. But unfortunately, it's just almost like you just have to cut your losses, and it's so painful. I get it. Like I've been through it. I know it's painful. But you have to just have this resolve that you are going to do this. You are going to stay away from this person because this person's not healthy for you. And you are going to focus on self-preservation. You're going to focus on yourself. You're going to focus on your own survival, getting your self-esteem back because they've battered it to a pulp. You're a valuable person. You're probably a good person. And you did everything you could for this relationship. Now they've made you feel like you're nothing. And you're not nothing. So you have to really reevaluate how valuable you are. You are stronger than you think. And you just have to have that resolve to be able to follow through. When you get to the other side after many months, you're going to say like, wow, like I don't even know what I was thinking wanting to be with that person, because that person is so unhealthy. They can't have a healthy, loving relationship. So I would have been stuck in that kind of hamster wheel pattern with that person for, I don't know, forever if I didn't leave or if they didn't break up with me or whatever. So think about, what do you really want in your life? It's probably not someone who's toxic, who's tearing you down or making you feel like less than. You want somebody who's going to support you, who's going to validate your feelings, who's going to love you and be a safe person, someone emotionally safe that you can have a healthy reciprocal relationship. I hope this video helped you today. And if it did, please like and share it with friends. And I'm always open to hearing your comments below. Please do put a comment because I'd love to hear your feedback.